Good evening, Scott. How you doing today?
I'm great, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Nice long day of training. I see you're all dressed up over there too.
Yep. At the time of this interview, we are just finishing up some classes and some teacher, instructor training. So, always a delight to do that. I'm here at the Boulder School.
mhm. That's great. Reaching out from Colorado today. How was the
Yeah,
weather out there?
fantastic. It's
Oh,
always fantastic, even when it's snowing, even when it's hot. It's always great weather here. So it's
all
nice
right.
to be able to wake up and put something, a layer on in the morning and then able to take it off in the afternoon. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, just need options, you know. But
Yeah.
yeah, I want to say first off, thanks for coming on with me here tonight. I know I'm looking forward to NENC, and we're honored to have you come in and be one of the instructors with us.
I'm honored to
I
be there. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I thought it would be good to get a chance. Last year we had some discussions with each of the instructors here. Of course, we have Mr. Davis and Mr. Poliquin returning, and I feel like I heard a lot of good feedback from students and attendees at the seminar who had a chance to watch some of the material, and so I do think it reaches folks. And given the sort of theme idea this year, where we're asking people to kind of come up with some topics, particularly if it's something that they're really feeling they need to work on.
Mhm.
Uh, I thought that maybe sort of centering the discussion around that and around progression in the art, and maybe kind of getting your personal take on it would be a really good place to go.
Sure.
Um, yeah, so there will probably be some folks here who may not have had a chance to meet and train with you yet. So I'm hoping we could start if you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and your training background.
Sure. So I started training when I was 14 years old. This is back in the mid 80s. I had some friends that were studying this martial art, and we were kind of a group of martial artists that hung out together and practiced all kinds of different things. And when the ninja boom happened, we all kind of jumped on board. And one of my friends found an actual teacher whose name was Mark Russo out of Tampa, Florida. Mark was conducting a seminar in Vero Beach, and my friend drove me out. I met Mark Russo and I never looked back. From then on, it was strictly ninjutsu. Back in those days, it was first Bujinkan, and then Mr. Hayes developed Kasumi An, and then of course it became Toshindo. So I kind of followed along with that path because that's what my teacher did, and I found value in that. And now here we are, 38 years later, and we're still rocking and rolling.
Awesome. Awesome. Man, 38 years flies. I don't know how that actually happens. I'm staring down the barrel at year 20 and I'm like, where'd it go? But
It flies fast.
yes, it does. Yes, it does. So I guess maybe we have a fair amount of folks who attend that might have a Shodan rank, but we also get some folks coming in that are in different Q ranks coming up through this. So thinking back to sort of the beginning and early stages of your training, I wanted to ask you a little bit if you'd be willing to tell us about any specific training bottlenecks you came across. I know I can think of a few different things that I might have had a little some lessons that I might have struggled to learn a little bit at
Sure.
the same pace as some others. Would love to learn a little bit more about your experience on that, and I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Mhm.
Well, Mr. Hayes, as most people may know, follows an elemental model approach. And these elements, earth, water, fire, wind, and then there's a fifth element that is referred to as the void. They follow not only a series of movements, but they follow a series of attitudes. So the attitudes are in parallel to how we experience life and how we experience challenges in life. So without belaboring what each of the elements means, directly related to your question as far as bottlenecks are concerned, the bottlenecks that I would experience would occur in an element that maybe I was not resonating with at the time. Physically, fortunately, I could adapt to the majority of what was being taught. Maybe not in its truest form, because of course we all start as beginners, so everything is a new learned experience. But as you start to understand the elemental process more, The bottlenecks that I would encounter is I'm having trouble connecting with this feeling because it is not something that is natural to me. So if we're talking about someone who is being comfortable with putting themselves out there, being assertive, if you're someone who is not comfortable with that, then it can create certain habits or certain uncomfortable movements in that particular style that is derived and developed from that element, if that's making any type of sense.
Yo, yeah. Oh, totally. I agree with you on that because I've had a similar sort of experience in that regard. When you talk about resonating with the feeling of what you're trying to do, some of the impetus behind that, and it can be really hard to do something at sort of the skill level that might be demanded when you're not quite congruent with that. So
Sure,
I can
sure.
understand that.
Yeah,
Um,
I can remember a time. So I am by nature, if we were talking about the elements, when I was younger growing up, I was a very, very physical person. I was an entertainer. I mean, I still am an entertainer, dancer, DJ. I was putting myself out there. So the fire element came very, very natural to me. Its opposite is water, which I thoroughly enjoyed as well, because it's more of taking a step back and seeing what's going on around you. What I found most challenging was the earth element because it required you to manage a small amount of space. And I felt like I'm contained here. So I couldn't connect with the purpose of exploring that side of a personality to where it's like, no, sometimes you just need to hold your ground. I was either like, let's get in there and get some magic done, or, let's get out of there, or don't even be where anybody can see that you're even present. So that earth element to me was a bit of a bottleneck because I was just not accustomed to being what I would consider now as contained. So that was kind of a more poignant bottleneck for me that I'm recalling now as well.
yeah, that's interesting. I think for me it was wind. I really enjoyed wind material, but the actual body movement mechanics for me were really not tied to my life experience. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so yeah. So I guess that kind of leads me to my next question because we start off and everyone kind of has their own sort of unique bottlenecks as they come up in the art and they develop their understanding. Now you're a high level instructor. You've been doing this, you said 38 years? Uh,
38 years. Yeah.
that's so weird. I thought you look 29, but as a high level instructor now, um, you get the opportunity now to work with students as they start to go through this process. And can you tell me a little bit more about your approach when you see a student come across a bottleneck? An area in their training where they really have more struggle than they might have with other stuff. Can you tell us what maybe your process would look like as you work with them?
Sure, sure.
Mhm,
So I'll relate this answer to more the Q rank
mhm,
material because I think
mhm,
it serves as a way to lead into down rank material. That's what the
mhm,
Q ranks are there for, is to prepare you for down rank material. So when I find students or practitioners uh, engaged or caught up in their own bottlenecks. Generally, in my experience, it has very little to do with what they are physically capable of. They can watch movement, they can mimic movement. The challenge starts to become what's going on inside. So, more times than not, when I'm working with a Q rank student, I will find that it is the dynamic of the emotional element that they are having challenges with, which is causing them to bottleneck in their taijutsu movement. So I will start first having a conversation with them. I mean, naturally, you go into, okay, you're not bending your knees enough, or your back's not straight enough, you're not rotating enough. That's why you're having what appears to be a problem or a sticking point with what they're doing. But as you dig into that more, you end up realizing that no, there's some type of psycho emotional misstep or something that they're not connecting with on the inside that is causing them to create this bottleneck. So
mhm,
I'll handle it twofold. While we are working on the physical aspect, I will also start working on setting up the emotional response. Can you see how someone might feel while they are doing this? And sometimes it's, well, no, I can't. So let's imagine that you are going through this process of your day, or you're having some emotional time with it and you can't put your finger on it and it's causing you to experience stress. We can relieve that stress by changing the way that we shift our approach to the physical aspect of the training. And I think once we combine those two together, working on the physical, but also tying in the potential emotional conflict that's happening with that series or particular movement, then they start to free themselves of the bottleneck, because it's not what's happening on the outside that's creating the bottleneck. It's what's happening on the inside. So we need to be able to creatively address that to them, A, without pushing any unknown boundaries, and B, not making it too convoluted or technical to where they are losing sight of what the mechanics are in the physical material.
Gotcha. A little bit of kind of keeping feet on the ground as we go through that sort of process. Uh,
Yeah.
inter Parallels a conversation I had with a student tonight at the school down there, and it's a great answer. All I call great answers, it leads to my next question.
Okay.
So something that Mr. White and I think is, kind of a big deal when it comes to martial arts training in general, but I'd say maybe even it's even more peculiar to ninjutsu, at least as far as my experience goes. Your life on the mat, your ability on the mat can sit in reflection of what's going on in your personal life, and really that logically leads us to say, well, if we can study this art to improve ourselves on the mat, we should be able to take these lessons into our daily lives and use it to empower ourselves, to make things better for ourselves.
Mhm.
So kind of going on from that, progressing, say, from Shodan and beyond from there. I agree with you that that's it. That's kind of a matured rank as far as, okay, we've got the key rank material, but now the difficult part can really begin. As you progressed from that point on, can you tell us a little bit about how ninjutsu specifically helped you in terms of navigating difficulties or challenges in your own life?
Yeah, that's a great question. To kind of piggyback on your intro into the question, my personal feeling is you cannot, I mean, you can, by choice, you can separate what is going on the emotional, living your life outside of the dojo aspect, and then the on the mat training. You can separate those. But I don't think you're getting the full value of this type of ninjutsu if you do that.
Mhm.
It has to be an aspect of your life that is coinciding with your training. So one could say that the Q rank material is giving you the foundations on how to approach things that can cause you stress and strife in life. It gives you those foundations. That would be the Q rank experiences. I understand different aspects of me, and I can understand those aspects in others. And now here's a physical vehicle to take those psycho-emotional aspects and put them into some type of tangible work. So that's the training of the basics.
Mhm.
When you go into the Dan ranks, now you start talking about the deeper nuances of life experience. And in my own experience, in the way that I was brought up in the martial art, each of the Dan ranks represents a more nuanced, more sophisticated, more challenging aspect of experience of life. Not necessarily in a linear way, but they all build upon one another, using again the elemental process, as in Toshindo, each of the ranks represents a more advanced element. So that would be kind of like, you know, you learned how to read and write. Now you're going to start doing poetry. Now you're going to make a novel, and you've got to take all those basics to figure all that out. So in my life, I can coincide different aspects of growing up as someone who, I learned this art. I was a Shodan, I think, by the time I was like 25. So I was a child in the martial art. I was still a child. I was a child in life. So going from first to second degree is like someone like a young adult becoming an experienced adult. Like, I know how to use these things and live my life. I know how to acquire an apartment. I know what to do with my bank account. I know how to take care of a vehicle and change the oil. I know how to be responsible, right? I'm confident within my own sense of responsibility. That would be someone who's going from a first to second degree black belt. There will be challenges in life. How do I approach these challenges in such a way that I don't get overwhelmed by them? Right? How can I ride along and move along with life's everyday uh, conflicts and challenges in life? How can I move with those and make proper decisions to where I can gain benefit from mistakes that I make, other people's intentions that are put on me, and now I'm having to deal with these consequences? How can I do that? How manage that? That would be like a second to third degree black belt. Then how can I now, understanding how I operate, understanding how I overcome challenges, how can I actually start to put my will into the world and start creating things that benefit me and the people that I love around me? That might be someone who's working from a third to fourth degree black belt. Then in fourth to fifth, how can I do this in such a way that it is part of my everyday normal life? I don't get overwhelmed by life's challenges. I understand that they are just part of life. That would be someone moving through fourth to fifth, to where someone who is a young adult can look at an older adult and be like, man, if I was confronted with that problem, I'd shut down. I don't know what to do. Well, I've got so much experience in life that these challenges come up and I treat them like, well, this is normal. This is normal to me. So naturally, I know not only are there going to be challenges, but I also am well aware and confident enough to know that I'll get through it. It's nothing to me. Right. So we sometimes refer to that, even in the taijutsu aspect, is I'm in the middle of complete chaos, which is kind of like what we're living through right now. Right. There's just a bunch of chaos going on right now. But if we're mindful of that, then we can be in the center of all that chaos and we'll still be fine. And that's just a journey from first to fifth degree black belt. Did you think that answered your question?
That's a great answer. I mean, there's sort of there's a corresponding growth in essentially skill development from what I'm hearing on one side, say coming up again into dons, and then this sort of progression through to, I guess I'll use the term kind of self mastery, a little bit of life mastery,
Yeah.
coming up to fifth dan, and yeah, I mean, for those of you who watch this and you haven't had a chance to train in the art for a long time yet, you're newer to the art, there is a startling degree of depth. And with that depth, some difficulty and some real challenge, and even just going through the process of getting to where you are now, sir, is really an achievement and takes and requires developing a lot of life skills to get there.
Yeah, and
So.
that was one thing that my direct teacher, Mark Russo, he was a huge proponent of not only paying attention to this elemental process and the skills inherent within them, but he expanded that and went very, very deep into life skills, as you would go very, very deep into studying all of these different don ranks. And you mentioned self-mastery. Let me just say a word on that. When someone becomes a master of something, or at least let's just say of the art, and my main focus has always been Toshindo, so I'll relate it to that martial art. Mr. Hayes does not say that someone is a master of the martial art when they make a fifth degree black belt. He refers to you as a master practitioner, which I think is kind of genius because you will never stop practicing, right? But also, I tend to break it down and I look at a master practitioner is someone who has mastered how to practice. How do you practice? I have mastered that. So I'm aware of me and how I approach material and how I gather information and knowledge from that material. I have mastered those things within myself. And now I can go beyond that. It doesn't mean I'm the greatest at something or that I know everything that there is to know. I mean, we never want to get there, right? We always, we want to like checking out, still learning, right? When it comes to the end of this lifespan, I want to be like, oh man, I still didn't get all that. So, okay, we're good. But that's what I kind of feel the mastery idea is that I'm just very in tune with myself.
I appreciate that answer, and that's a good clarification too, because that can be kind of a mastery can be kind of a nebulous word. So getting clarification around that is definitely a good thing. And again, you have a here's something you have some mastery in is again you answer the questions in such a way where they perfectly lead up to literally. I have these written down.
All right.
The
All right, we're on a
uh,
roll.
so I think my last big question, just for today, because I think it's important for students in the art, anybody in the art at any level, but particularly folks new to the art, is that you said it yourself, like we're still developing. We're not a martial, we're not the martial, we haven't mastered the martial art. The martial art's still the teacher here. I personally have, as I've gotten to know more senior instructors in the art, I've developed an admiration to the attitude that we're continuing to study, we're continuing to develop ourselves, to develop our skills. We're committed to the practice.
Mhm.
Um, so, by way of inspiration to folks that don't have 38 years of training experience, would you want to share any areas of study in the art that you're personally working on now? Is there anything that you
Mm.
feel is a good point of growth for yourself?
Oh, it's a great question. Thank you. Well, where I am at with my training right now, and I kind of think this is a natural process. I can't speak for everyone, of course, but this has been what I have experienced in not only with my direct teachers, but as I seek out other training experiences as well. Um, the further that you go with the physical, you start to actually leave the physical behind, and the energy of what is happening takes over more. So where I'm at in my training, if I'm speaking in terms after fifth degree of energy, this has been my experience, is at a fifth degree, you are not allowing yourself, you're being so open that you're allowing any possibility to be relevant. Okay, any possibility is there. I'm attached to nothing, so therefore I have opportunity to everything. Then after that, as someone, again, my experience moving to sixth degree is I'm just saying this as a general term. I'm so detached from things that when change happens, I am in the current moment with that change of energy. So I'm not surprised by the change. I can move with the change and make that change work to my benefit. So beyond that, moving into seventh degree is you start to peel away the acknowledgement of any change, the acknowledgement of any energy that you are connected to. That starts to fall away to where even my own identity starts to become obscured. So now I can't be pigeonholed into a certain thing. I'm kind of everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So it's like my energy is unrecognizable. Okay. And now currently what I'm working on is in my own physical movement, can I give away nothing with my intent? Can I show nothing to where even my own movement surprises me? So that's kind of what I'm working on in a weird way. I think if you were to ask another seventh degree what they were working on, as far as Toshindo is concerned, they might have a completely different answer. This is my own kind of personal journey, is that I am working on the unrecognition of energy. I give off nothing to where when something does occur, even to me, it is a surprise. And then I just carry on with what I'm doing. There's another aspect of my training that I want to look at more, which is in the context of um, others coming up through the art. I have a very strong interest in wanting to share teaching technologies and ways that can streamline and organize the student experience to where they can take a deep dive into a certain subject, and there is a distinctive pathway through that subject. It seems kind of obscure what I'm saying, but it's hard for me to verbalize. And then there's three things. The third thing for me, it's a very, very personal thing, but I would like to learn exercises and go through skills on how to prime myself to be someone's partner in their fifth degree test. So this sword test, I would like to be able to facilitate that. So there are certain aspects of training that I don't even know if they exist that I'm thinking of in my mind on. I would like to follow this as a way of cultivating what is necessary to give a realistic, energized, true test of this this kind of sitting or standing sword test. So that's kind of where I'm at with my training right now.
I really appreciate the that's a really thorough answer to that. And I think if again I say this to folks watching this, if you're coming in and it's year two, we're still working on figuring out Ganzeki
Yep.
you'll figure it out in about 10 more years.
Yeah.
The
If that.
Yeah, you're working in a different place, but the important thrust of the message here is that there's always something more to do, and that makes this art interesting, and it
Really,
keeps
there really is.
it alive. And
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
yeah.
There is a lot to learn. I would dare to even say beyond the physical movement, there is so much to learn about. The broad picture is, what are you going to peel away once you build up this repertoire of what your body is capable of doing? You'll start to peel away. Does it need to do it that much? Does it need to do it with that much intent? What's going on inside of me that I could be peeling away to where I can even be more efficient with my movement because I'm getting what's going on in here out of the way. So, I mean, and that is, how can you say that there's an end to that when this is alive? It's like you can't. You could choose to. I mean, you could be willfully ignorant and be like, I'm done, with all that other stuff. I just want to learn how to throw somebody harder. I want to learn how to make it look more cool. You could do that. Um, but I think the full magnitude of getting the most out of this martial art is to allow both of them to go hand in hand. But really, it's what's going on in your mind and your heart that will drive what your body does, right? Because eventually we're all going to run out of body to do stuff with. And all that's going to be left is our mind and intent. So the richness of the martial art is that the martial art goes as long as you go, if you choose to look at it that way.
Yeah, if I could share one quick anecdote from our school, we had a gentleman join us a couple of years ago who had a lot of experience in prior martial arts, came into this art in his mid 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been really fascinating getting to work with him. I've really enjoyed doing it, and watching somebody go through it. If you come into this with a positive attitude and you're geared, you want to learn, you're okay with peeling back layers. There's a lot of stuff to cut away over time. Uh, there's a lot of joy in it, and it's a
Can
lot
be.
of yeah, it's a lot of fun to see. Sometimes there's pain.
I mean,
Depends.
that's
Yeah.
that's the give and take, right? I mean,
Yep.
we also had a 60-year-old that joined us who is now, I believe he's 65 or 66 years old.
Mm.
And here's the specialness of this martial art. You have a 60-year-old in
Mm.
Orlando. We have a 60-year-old that's training. They've come in with 60 years of their own life experience. And now we're going to challenge them to say, what of all that is still serving you and what is not? So we're going to use the platform of a martial art to change the way that you look at life. But the challenge, 60 years old, who knows how much they've taken care of themselves? There might be physical limitations, but the real challenge is, can you let go of those old beliefs so you can experience the physical to its fullest? And even with those guys, the older folks that come in to train, the physical is not getting in their way. There are some limitations. Your body is doing certain things depending on how you've taken care of it for 60 plus years. But the real challenge is can I let go of those things that aren't serving me anymore? And I think, in my experience, there has not been a better physical platform of a martial arts model than ninjutsu to be able to facilitate that successfully and to make someone feel good about Yeah, I got a lot of stuff. But I'm in a community of people that support me. That's a big thing. And I've got a curriculum, a body of work that is time tested and proven through the example of everybody that you are around in this martial art. I mean, there are some amazing friends that I've made in this martial art that will serve to us. Everyone wants everyone to win. We all want each other to win. I mean, how can that be a bad thing for anybody at any age to come into and start to explore, regardless of how great physically they get? Who cares how great physically you get? Are you improving the quality of your life? To me, that's like, boom. I'll give you a 5th degree black belt. If you change the way your life is and everything's rocking and rolling, you're running on all 8 cylinders, you're limping, but you can manage your life and get the most out of it. Success. Job done.
That's a great answer, Scott, and I really hope people take that one to heart because otherwise we're just learning to punch and kick.
That, I
And
mean, that's it. And we could do that with anything, right? We don't even need a martial art.
Yep. Yep, indeed. So yeah, no, I think we're really lucky to have guys like yourself who are wanting to come in and not just teach folks to help them get better, but to actually come in and like sit and like seriously talk about this and take a look at the bigger picture. And you mentioned, hey, we're all trying to help lift each other up here, and that's part of why we do this event. We want to make sure we're bringing folks in from different perspectives, different organizations, and I think it's a really good thing when we're kind of putting your heads together to help us make this event happen. And that being said, I know on our side here, the old Zoom timer's clocking down on me. So what I want to do is I want to say thank you very much again for joining me tonight to talk about this. And yeah, we look forward to the event in November. Are there any last notes or thoughts you'd like to leave anybody watching this?
No, I mean, my appreciation goes to you and all the folks there at Discovery for, putting the event together, for inviting me out to share some experiences with the folks. I do a ton of traveling, so I always enjoy being around new people that are training in this martial art and being able to share some principles and some insights. So, big thanks to you and to Mark and to everybody that is facilitating, putting this event together and organizing it. And I'm just honored to be part of it.
All right. Well, we look forward to having you then. We'll see you on the mat and take care of yourself. Stay safe out there, and we'll be seeing you soon.
You as well, Zach. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care, Scott.
Okay, bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.